If you're here, it's because you're a sustainability professional who wants practical information on how to take concrete steps towards implementing pollinator programs that are connected to strategic objectives like environmental sustainability and governance, ESG goals, and the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. I want to encourage your participation in the chat and in the comments. My team and I will do our best to answer your questions. Now, I'm a biologist with a PhD in honeybee immunology. I've been working with honeybees for more than 15 years, so I do know a lot about them. My company has seen firsthand the shift in the corporate world towards protecting pollinators as part of sustainability initiatives. It couldn't come at a better time. I'll tell you how I got here and how our clients and partners have helped establish a completely new way to impact what we call the triple bottom line: people, planet, and profit. Now, the original direction of my research was to understand how honeybees, as social creatures, stay healthy over 100 million years of evolutionary time. What originally caught my eye about honeybees was how they can live in these extremely tight-knit, complex societies while staying healthy, despite not having doctors, hospitals, nurses, and pharmacies. I wanted to know what we humans can learn from these successful groups in nature to be our own healthiest society. Now, this was in 2005, and the timing coincided with something remarkable. In 2006, bees started disappearing through colony collapse disorder. It was reported in the New York Times, and it marked an awakening that the bees were in trouble. It made me realize that there was so much more to this research than just the scientific aspect. This was our food system. Bees play such an important role in the availability of fruits and vegetables and the affordability of healthy food. People started coming to me and saying, "What's going on with our bees?" And that led to my aha moment that colony collapse disorder crystallized in me forever. It flipped my research thinking away from what can we learn about social systems with bees to what's happening with bees. Why are they dying? Fast forward to 2009, when I finished up my PhD at Tufts. Now, you might recall, in 2009, the economy was terrible, and there weren't many jobs for honeybee scientists, even in the best economy. So I thought, what have I done? I should have gone to business school. I should have done something else. I was working the adjunct teaching circuit and bartending at a business school's lobby. I heard about a contest with MIT for a pitch competition called the MIT 100K Entrepreneurship Competition. And so I said, sure, I'll enter. And I won it. I started a company with a Facebook page and called it Best Bees. The first year, I sold 7 beehives. And I thought, if I can only sell 20 beehives, that'll be enough. Then I can have ample research and I can live on that. Year 2, we sold 12 beehives. And year 3, we sold 65. I realized I was really onto something: a managed beehive service, but not managed beehives, scientifically managed beehives, where we're getting data out of every beehive that we work with all over the country. 11 years later, we've created a multi-million-dollar company and an industry that we call beekeeping services. We work with home gardens and business rooftops to encourage this movement of spaces going from gray to green. We have over 80 employees nationwide in 14 cities. We're a real business, growing and thriving, and we made the Inc. 5000 list of fastest growing companies in 2020. Now, one vital part of that history is our corporate partnerships. So I'll shine a light here in a partnership with Beacon Capital Partners. They were instrumental in lifting this new industry of beekeeping services off the ground and onto their rooftops. Beacon Capital Partners is a real estate investment firm, and they installed beehives on rooftops all across its properties nationwide in one fell swoop with Al Scaramelli, the company's managing director and head of sustainability, who led the charge. The chairman of Beacon had just returned from an investors meeting in Europe, and they were served honey at a coffee and tea break. That honey had a custom label explaining their sustainability strategy, and something clicked for him. They wanted this in the US, and they found Best Bees. We signed a national deal together immediately. He wanted to move fast to maintain an edge against the competition in real estate sustainability. They've earned LEED certification for over 53 million square feet of property and Energy Star Partner of the Year for more than 9 years. They say that the beehives on premises give their LEED applications flair. Beacon's well-documented commitment to sustainability makes financial sense too. The beehives are a key differentiator, and they draw in and retain the most desirable tenants. Even in this post-pandemic economy, Al still says that of all the sustainability initiatives that they do, the tenants are the most excited about their bees. So yes, it was a good fit for sustainability there. But it also proved that we could scale our business while we also scaled the science. It was a win-win. So let's take a look at why it's so important, why bees matter. So much of life depends on honeybees. Now, there are 200,000 species of pollinators hard at work every day, pollinating vegetation across the globe. 10% of those are bees. In addition to the flowering plants, human life too survives on pollinators. Simply put, bees equal food. The fate of pollinators is tied directly to the security of our food system and even human health. Now, these little insects are absolutely essential. Beyond our own nutritional and economic and emotional well-being, bees, of course, play a huge role in the reproduction of millions of other plant species. They make our planet thrive as we know it. And last year was the worst to date for bee health in the United States. Only 56% of beehives survived the year, and we saw the highest ever recorded summertime deaths. Why is this happening? The four known reasons are disease, pesticides, habitat loss, and climate change. Now, at the Best Bees Company, we're obviously interested in encouraging individuals and companies to get bees. It's fun, it's fascinating. We also know that people find value in making a difference. So how are we helping people to make an impact? Well, each of our beehives is more than just a box of bugs on your property. They're also living data points that are part of a larger effort to save the bees and study our world. And I can tell you, we're making progress. There are hopeful signs. Now, we've spent 10 years studying the factors that help bees survive. We've learned that hives and bees do well in urban environments. We're making headway on disease, and we're getting a more accurate view of pesticides, which hopefully will inform policy. Another great sign is the growing interest in what we call biophilic design in the built environment. It's my life's mission to turn buildings from gray to green. For that reason, biophilia is near and dear to my heart. It's showing how good green design can make us healthier, happier, smarter, and even more creative. And in doing so, we can care for the diversity of life. So here's a few great examples of biophilia and some of my personal stories from clients who've become my good friends. Jessica Tardif at Fairmont Hotels and Resorts first came to us after the company declared a mandate that all of their properties worldwide needed beehives. As the head of sales and marketing, Jessica didn't know how to accomplish this beekeeping task. So Jessica reached out to me, and we helped her install beehives in an area that was otherwise vacant. And look at it today. This former gray space, which all the interfacing rooms look down upon, is now a thriving pollinator habitat and chef's herb garden, as well as a major data point for a study that we published with the Harvard School of Public Health about pesticides in the city. Today, Fairmont's Bee Sustainable program features honeybee apiaries and wild pollinator bee hotels at Fairmont locations worldwide. I'm so proud to be a part of it. We've loved doing honey harvesting and tasting events for the general public in the lobby. It's local flair at global scale. EMD Serono, the healthcare business of Merck, has an amazing pollinator program. Now, we first met Jeff Hyman, their Director of Environmental Health and Safety, 3 years ago at a local U.S. Green Building Council chapter event while we were in line for craft beer together. He's doing incredible work for his corporate campus with biophilia. EMD Serono bosses are meeting with their teams on nature pathways with pollinator plants, and they wanted to add beehives. So they started with one beehive as a pilot project, and it's transformed how they operate. Today, the company's pollinator program features 3 hives and wildflower gardens. They replaced turf grass with pollinator-friendly plants and trees that need minimal weekly maintenance. They no longer use pesticides, nor do they need to irrigate the soil. They created a mindful walking path all throughout the site so that employees and any visitors can see the bees in action and really drink in the beautiful campus. Their director calls it getting a dose of vitamin N for nature. And a third example, this time's from Harvard Business School. Now, each year, HBS hires 10 MBA students to identify and run a sustainability campaign. Several years ago, the Sustainability Associates team did a study and recommended that the campus get beehives with best bees. We met with their operations group and provided compelling information on the importance and benefits of beehives, along with how to address concerns, how to get alignment from the key stakeholders. Now, they added 2 hives on a green rooftop in front of a large glass window on the MBA side of campus. It was so well received that they added 2 more beehives to their executive education side, so everyone can see them through large glass windows as they pass through the lounge. They actually do a lot of education about the bees and even feature honey and recipes. Their sustainability office has said that the bees are a tangible way to engage students and faculty, alumni, and their whole community in sustainability. Now, when we talk about sustainability, we've got to talk about the science. So let's go there. Our mission at Best Bees is to improve bee health, to save the bees. And my personal mission with keynotes like this one is to inspire, educate, and build community. I want for us to feel things, to connect with one another. And science actually helps us do it right. So let's dive into some of the high-tech ways that innovation is allowing us to experience nature and to feel better at the workplace. Our first stop is in the world of genomics. It's our current hypothesis that nutrition plays a key role in beehive productivity and longevity. But my lab needed a way to measure bee nutrition. What's on the nutrition label of a flower patch? Well, we decided to do a deep dive into the biology of honey, sequencing the genome of pollen found in the honey that we harvested from our beehives. It's called HoneyDNA, and Best Bees is the only company to offer this analysis. Now, HoneyDNA uses advanced genomics to look at DNA, just like Ancestry DNA or 23andMe do for humans. It's a way to measure green rooftops and biophilic spaces and ecosystems like never before. This analysis looks at how many plant species are in a single spoonful of honey. The average HoneyDNA sample has 150 species represented, and the range is from 52 plant species to 411. The higher the number, the greater the biodiversity of plants in that area. So for example, my home beehive's HoneyDNA report said that on my 3rd floor deck beehive in Boston, it had 411 total plant species in a single spoonful. And the genetic makeup changed over the course of the year. So 25% was from apples in the spring. Then, due to a shifting plant bloom, it changed to 32% from linden trees in the summer, followed by 13% as the dominant food source in the fall. So by zooming into this bee's eye view and mapping the DNA genomes using this cutting-edge technology, we're now measuring what plant types are out there for pollinators and what proportion exists for each plant, and the timing of their blooms year over year across small micro levels of habitat for each 3 to 5 mile radius that the bees fly from each beehive. The range can be from about 20 to nearly 450 total plant species in a sample. I mean, it's insane. The more that we're doing this, the more we're learning. The higher the number, the higher the biodiversity. We've got a lot of things to learn from HoneyDNA, and so we've been publishing this in National Geographic too. What we've learned is that the best food source for pollinators is a varied diet. And now we know what specific plants the bees are going to for each local area around the world. And we know what steps we can take to stabilize our local food systems. It's also helping us to measure changes in climate and ecosystems. Now, I want to emphasize the value of this analysis because we're not just doing HoneyDNA one hive at a time, but rather we're analyzing it at scale. And that's giving us tremendous insights that we just couldn't see before. The second dive into science is the area of data yielding beehives. It's a nascent network that could one day lead to a blockchain for bees. Now, every visit by a Best Bees beekeeper is logged into our beehive management platform that we lovingly call Buzz. This means that each hive is actually a living data factory, a bioindicator for ecosystem health. Professional beekeepers using scientific methods to control variables ensure that data on hive health can be collected at scale and normalized for analysis. Now, big data from a national network of beehives managed in a standardized way creates the opportunity to study many open questions. Data harvested from beehives can inform us about our environment, about the security of our food system, disaster recovery strategies, biodiversity, pollinator resiliency, and so much more. Beehives done right will enrich the local ecology for miles around the hive. And a network of scientifically managed beehives lets us see the whole world through an entirely new lens. By implementing solutions that help honeybees, we're also helping other pollinators that are more difficult to study. We can learn a lot from them about how to maximize our impact on grand challenges like the climate crisis, food insecurity, and the loss of biodiversity. Now, as bioindicators of environmental health, beehives are a tremendous source of data that inform us about the habitat beyond us. Through HoneyDNA, we have a living record of snapshots in time for plant habitats. And this allows us to understand what to plant in order to improve our resiliency against climate change. And you can use that data to inform what we're planting and what we're doing. For detailed reporting for all of your projects, this is a really big benefit. All of these little bees are giving us information. Beehives are like little printers of data. So whether you're going for LEED or site certification, or if you're focusing on sustainability reporting, we're going to cover all of that right now. So first, let me show you an example of how our bee and biodiversity report is really benefiting a lot of people. It's a custom report that we put together for our clients. So we take a complex system that's found in nature and all the intricate data from those honeybee colonies, and then we translate it into a compelling story that everyone can understand. So look at this frame, for example. There's so much information happening on the surface, and now we can analyze and share that with our clients and the community. So this is a beautiful report in and of itself. Many companies hand this out to their employees, they share it with their tenants and their investors. It's actually really fascinating stuff. You get an overview of your hive and how this impacts the surrounding environment. And for many of our clients, they're excited to get the delicious honey too. We take a scientific approach, and that shows how levels of honey in a beehive aren't just about harvesting. They tell you a lot about the health of the beehive. Honey is a snapshot of plant landscapes, making it a powerful and super tasty research tool for understanding ecosystems over time and the impacts of climate change on our environments. Now, bees are a super organism. Every bee plays a vital role in ensuring the health of a colony as a whole. And as beekeepers, we're measuring the population levels to gain insights on how our bees are doing and what interventions that we can take to improve their chance of survival. Honey and population are just two metrics of data that we report on at Best Bees. Now, some clients include the data as part of their wider sustainability reporting, such as an ESG report for investors. They tell us that honeybees help them improve their corporate reputation because they're tangible and people can relate to them. For example, a Fairmont hotel in Scotland, a Kennedy Wilson property, achieved platinum sustainability status with their beehive program. As key players on the sustainability program, the bees scored a front cover of their responsibility report. National Grid, which is the electricity, national gas, natural gas, and clean energy utility in New York, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island, has a responsible business charter, and they installed 2 hives at one location, and they're letting the land under the power lines return to a wildflower pollinator habitat. They want their customers to know about these moves, so they made a public announcement earlier this month about the pollinator projects, and they linked it directly to their responsible business charter. Jamestown featured its beehives in a separate sustainability report released earlier this month too. This kind of reporting was once a nice to have, but in today's world, it's becoming a necessity. Employees, investors, tenants, and all of the stakeholders want to know about the company's sustainability and commitment to making this world a better place. Now, beehives can earn both LEED and CITES credits. So on the LEED side, you can earn up to 7 credits. Local food production, that's 1 credit. Green rooftops produce food, and bees produce food, and this food can feed our communities. Social equity in the community is 1 credit. When honeybee hives are in underprivileged areas, like cities and different neighborhoods, they can contribute to promote social and environmental justice. Heat island reduction is 2 credits. Beehives and green rooftops go hand in hand. Roofs planted with native vegetation attract a variety of pollinators and can help them be more sustainable and even grow better. They reduce greenhouse gas emissions and improve air quality. In turn, it limits the amount of heat absorbing surface area like cement and reduces the heat island effect. And in fact, the temperature of a green rooftop is up to 40 degrees cooler than its next door gray rooftop. And site development. Protect or restore habitat for 2 credits. You're rewarded for protecting habitat from development and for restoring habitat in a way that promotes biodiversity. And now, our scientifically managed beehives are a way to actually measure biodiversity. Now, that seventh point is the innovation credit. We've seen clients get that coveted point for a well thought out and expansive pollinator program that includes professional management, rigorous data and reporting, and an integrated pest management approach. Now, let me give you a quick example. Susan Pye is a commercial property manager in Los Angeles. She's been the manager for several buildings that have beehives on the roof. In 2015, her building, Pasadena Towers, earned the distinction of LEED Platinum certification. She credited the beehives for pushing them over the top on points to go from gold to platinum. Because of the novel ways her team integrated the hives into the building, she earned the innovation credit, and that pushed her from 79 to 80 points. It was a really big accomplishment for her building. And incidentally, that same year, she won the BOMA Toby Award for Outstanding Building of the Year. I love Susan. Before I go on, I'll spend a little time on sites and how you can earn up to 16 credits for pollinator habitat. When you support the ecosystem by maintaining or establishing appropriate biomass, which includes pollinator habitat, you can earn between 1 and 6 credits for the optimized biomass within site design. There's several human health and well-being categories for beehives that would also apply. Think about a community garden with beehives where everyone shares the bounty. That's equitable site use and on-site food production. And for mental restoration, let's look back at our EMD Serono campus example with Jeff. Can you visualize employees walking the pathways past flowers and pollinators to rejuvenate themselves during the day? What if we all had that? And if we zoom all the way out to a global view, we can look at the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. In my work at MIT, I saw a whole lab that measures itself by these SDGs. And I thought, what a great way to benchmark the progress we're making. And so once again, we did a deep dive into those SDGs, and we found that honeybees, and again, I'm talking about scientifically managed beehives, a network of data yielding beehives that contribute to 10 of the SDGs. And we have a white paper on it, and it's free on our website at bestbees.com. I won't drill down into each of these SDGs here, but imagine being able to reference your honeybee program across 10 SDGs in your ESG reporting. Now, I'd like to go off script for a minute and talk about net zero. We're all looking at carbon offsets and carbon capture solutions. I'm currently working on a calculation for how much carbon a beehive captures. It's like trying to untie a very complex knot. I'm seeing a variety of calculations from how many tons each beehive can capture to the equivalent of households worth of annual carbon output each year just from one beehive. And I'm really interested in continuing this conversation around beehives and carbon neutrality. So all of you in the chat and comments, let me know if this is an area of interest for you. And with all that we've covered today, I hope you're inspired to get started. And the examples that I've shared, in most cases, there was a pollinator champion, someone who believes in it, who recommends the project and takes steps to enact it. Al, Jessica, Jeff, and Susan. Having a pollinator champion who advocates for bees is vital to the success of a pollinator program. We want to arm you with facts to help your organization say yes to beehives. First up is finding the budget. Funding for bees is commonly from the operating or facilities budget, but sometimes marketing, sales, sustainability, or even food and beverage units if they're using the harvested honey. In terms of safety, when it comes to office buildings, we realize you might need to convince a few people that having beehives won't be a liability. We offer a Best Bee certificate of insurance, and it goes above and beyond the typical legal requirements to put all at ease. But that being said, we've never had to file a claim over our 11 seasons in operations. There's no legal precedent to support the perceived risk. You might be working with someone who's afraid of bees. It's important to note that you aren't likely to get stung by going in or out of your building just because you have bees on your rooftop or in your gardens. I always say aggressive things is a bad business model. Beehives are a good investment. In addition to that, there are lower HVAC costs with green rooftops. Studies have shown that a green rooftop would save about $5,000 per year or $200,000 over the lifespan of 40 years. And nearly two-thirds of that savings would come from reduced energy costs and stormwater management. When you focus on pollinators, you're creating a virtuous cycle. When pollinators are thriving in a community, then the food system and greenery just do better, and they make a positive impact for community health and for climate justice. On their own, the examples that we've talked about today showcase a company's commitment to pollinators. And when taken collectively, they help to define a movement towards sustainability and community-wide resiliency. So I hope you've learned something today. And I hope that you guys see honeybees that will be flourishing in and around your own built environment in the near future. So in the comments, in the chat, add anything for discussion, any questions, and thank you guys for coming.